Solarize Mass Plus is a state-funded and city-sponsored program which is promoting clean energy technologies at a discounted rate to home and business owners. Solarize North Shore is the partnership between Salem, Swampscott, and Nahant, run by volunteers. We're promoting 3 technologies, which is solar electricity, solar hot water, and air source heat pumps. Each community has a designated solar coach to help with marketing and outreach, and I'm the solar coach for Salem. Our original program end date was April 30th, but we've recently announced that we're extending until May 31st. So now we have 25 days to get those contracts signed for discounted rates. This is the first of 3 webinars. The next one will be on air source heat pumps, and that's going to be Thursday, May 14th at 2 p.m. And then we have one on solar hot water as well, which will be Monday, May 18th at 7 p.m. And those are going to be, we're going to have Facebook events so that everyone can RSVP for those. And thank you all for being here. We're just going to get started. And we'll start with Lisa Dobbs from MassCEC, who's going to tell us a little more about the program. Go ahead, Lisa.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my presentation. Esmeralda, has it popped up? Do we look good?
Yes.
All right, awesome. So thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here today. Like Esmeralda mentioned, my name is Lisa Dobbs. I'm a program coordinator at the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center. Here today to just discuss high level on the program, as well as some of the details on the technology we're going to talk about today, which is solar PV, and some of the available incentives. Like Esmeralda mentioned, feel free to type in your questions in the Q&A section, and we'll focus on addressing all of those questions at the end of all of the presentations. So let's see here. There we go. So MassCEC, just a little background on our organization. We are a quasi-state agency. We are created by an act of legislation, and we gain our funding from the Renewable Energy Trust. That's that small surcharge on ratepayer utility bills. And with that, we're tasked with helping grow the clean energy economy in Massachusetts and helping meet the Commonwealth's climate and clean energy goals. As you can see here, this slide is a bit busy in terms of what we offer, but we're multifaceted, whether it's innovation infrastructure, technology development, workforce development, or other types of company investments. We also have a focus on adoption, which is focused on folks like you, the consumers, helping to educate and empower you to learn how to adopt these technologies on your own. So we're really excited about programs like Solarize that do exactly that. If you have any other questions about what else our organization does, feel free to just chat it in and I'll help get you some more information. So what is Solarize Mass Plus? Solarize Mass Plus is a community-based and driven education, outreach, and group purchasing campaign, coupled with a competitive installer selection and fixed discounted pricing. The reason why this program is so successful, the key to it is all of the partnerships. You can see here on this slide, everyone here works together to make this program work. MassCEC funds the program, helps provide education and grants to the communities who participate. We work closely with a community volunteer team with folks like Esmeralda, who are out there every day doing the work on a program like this. So if you ever get a chance to thank them, please thank them. They're doing a lot of great work for you. You've got your installer. They were competitively vetted and selected, and that's one of the functions of the community volunteer team. They are your technical expert. They're here to provide you with free site assessments, talk about the pricing and ownership options. They're also your turnkey contractor. So they're going to take you from site assessment through contracting, installation, and beyond. Like is shown here in this slide, you all in the community are also a key aspect of this program. This program has its success based on really the peer-to-peer networking aspect, really of life. Whether it was in person before or maybe a little bit more virtual now, you all get to get those free site assessments and then spread the word by telling your friends, neighbors, business owners, nonprofits to learn more about this program and the opportunities from it. So a little bit more about the plus aspect of the program. A lot like Esmeralda mentioned, there are multiple technologies you can learn about under the program. And really the main goal here was when Massachusetts, is, having goals of, zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050, we need to start looking at where those emissions are coming from. We know that in Massachusetts alone, over half is due to heating and cooling. And when you look at household energy use, closer to 75% of that is due to space heating, air conditioning, and water heating. So we know we've got a lot to tackle right there off the bat, but we've got the technology to do so. So you can have an opportunity to learn how to pair solar PV with a complementary technology. So you can use solar and or electricity to heat your home, so maybe PV and heat pumps, or maybe PV and hot water to use that hot water to reduce your emissions in that way. You can maximize your cost savings by combining these. Like I said, reduce that carbon footprint and really gain energy independence in a lot of senses, which I think is kind of top of mind for a lot of us right now. And you can receive quotes from multiple technologies under the program, which again is a really great benefit. The PLUS program itself really is, like I mentioned, it's designed to address the consumer and answer your questions. When you get those free site assessments, you get to learn, and sort of address a lot of the common concerns and questions we all have when thinking about these technologies. Okay, like, what's it gonna look like? What are the incentives? What do those look like for me? What's the cost? What if PV isn't feasible for me? These site assessments are going to help you learn about all of those specific situations. And Boston Solar is really going to dig into that today with you to help learn more about that. And the design itself even further designed for you to think about talking to your community members. So you've got volunteers available all the time to answer your questions, help direct you to resources, and your selected installer is offering vetted, transparent and discounted pricing. So they're going to present you with a base cost and possible additional cost, or what we might call adders. That way you can learn exactly what's the all-in cost of your system, but then as well the payback. So again, it's really focused on you all, the consumer, to help you learn exactly how to take these next steps. So a little bit on solar PV or solar photovoltaics, or even commonly referred to as solar electric. That's all solar PV. Here's some pictures with homeowners across Massachusetts who have installed these technologies. Just a little fun there, especially with the Red Sox one on the roof there. But when thinking about PV, one of the reasons why we promote a program like this is because we want to think about solar PV in the context of our energy use. First, we want to take that world energy use, which you can see there on the left-hand side, and start comparing it to finite energy reserves and reminding ourselves that those are not available, those aren't renewable, I should say, so they won't come back after we've started eating away at them. And you can see how quickly that world energy use will do so. So we know we need to do something, right? So when we start thinking about, okay, let's start looking at our renewables. The values that pop up here are available per year for capture. We may not be capturing them, but that's the availability. So we can see the potential that we have with some of these technologies to, help manage that world energy use. And then we want to find out how solar fits into the picture. So always kind of let this slide speak for itself, but this is why we know that this is such a valuable technology, because we can see how abundant it is and how we can really take that as a stepping stone to clean and green our electricity, and then build our home electrification off of that with things like air source heat pumps, or even using that solar resource for the solar hot water. But again, just wanted to kind of emphasize that there. Solar PV is also a time-trusted technology. You can see the growth over time from 2005, where there was around 300, to 2015, over 43,000. By mid-2018, we're actually at 85,000 projects, and now actually to date in 2020, we're at over 100,000 projects. With programs like these and support from the state and from all your local municipalities to run programs like these and offer education, all of your friends, neighbors, and business owners are adopting this time trusted technology. And even in Massachusetts, with well-sited systems, it's poised to do incredibly well. So high level on incentives and programs that are available for solar PV. Just going to give you the basics on this to give you a little bit of a background or a primer in order for John from Boston Solar to really dig into the details of the process and how it works, and sort of those kind of individual situations. So there's a lot of incentives available in Massachusetts, again, which is really what helps support its growth. There are state and federal tax incentives. There's net metering and utility bill savings. There are production incentives. Right now it's called the SMART program. And there's also the Mass Solar Loan Program. I'm not going to talk about state and federal tax incentives. I'm going to leave that to Boston Solar, but I'm going to talk about the latter three. And one thing to keep in mind, even looking at this slide, think about them as stacking on top of each other. One incentive does not necessarily take away from the other, but they all mutually benefit each other and stack on top of each other. So you get all of them. So just kind of think about your incentives that way. So net metering. So this is an opportunity to allow system owners to export their power to the grid. Sometimes this is also referred to as distributed generation, or DG, something common way to refer to it. So what's going to happen when you get your solar install is you're going to get a net meter installed. Your meter will then be able to spin forwards when you use electricity from the electric company, or spin backwards when you generate excess and export your electricity. So at the end of each month, what you will see on your utility bill is your monthly average. So think about it this way: if you consume or import more than you export, you're going to get a bill. You're going to pay for what that was. If you export more than you import or consume, you're going to get a credit. So to clarify on this, it is not cash incentive, but the benefit of this is that you can carry it over from month to month and even share your credits. So you can generate a lot of excess probably in the summer that can help cover probably your winter bills when maybe it's not as sunny or there's a little bit of snow out there. Still a really nice benefit. There are different export values based on system size. I just want to make you aware of this. If your system size is over 10 kilowatts, you'll just want to have that discussion if you have a particularly large home with a big load. But common systems that come under programs like these are usually under 10 kilowatts. So those systems are going to receive nearly the full retail value of that exported electricity. It's pretty close to a 1-to-1. So you get a really, really great value for the net metering and that electricity that you export to the grid. So the production incentive I was talking about before, the Solar Massachusetts Renewable Target Program. This is actually a program run through the Department of Energy Resources. This was put in place as a part of an act of legislation in order to get 1,600 megawatts of solar onto the grid. There has been a proposal in addition to potentially expand that to 3,200, so it's pretty exciting. But again, this is something that's supported by legislation, so it is meant to stand. So again, like I mentioned, it's a production-based incentive. So it's designed to assign a monetary value of the green attribute of your generation, and this is a cash incentive. And again, keep in mind that this is something that happens outside of the net metering, so you actually will get a production meter that records just the entirety of your production, and you will get credit for all of that, regardless of the electricity that you consume. It's designed to provide long-term revenue certainty by providing a fixed incentive per kilowatt hour generated. So typical smaller systems are eligible to generate or receive a value for the generation for 10 years, 10 years of eligibility. So you will have a fixed incentive per kilowatt hour generated for the entirety of that time. So there's really nice certainty in that. And Boston Solar is definitely going to go over what those values look like with you. There's additionally an added incentive for PV systems with energy storage. Again, your installer is going to work with you to discuss this incentive and also will help apply on behalf of you for the program. So to learn more about this particular program, their website is masmartsolar.com. We'll make that available to you at the end and also via email as well. Another program is the Mass Solar Loan Program. This is run through the CEC and the DOER, although we administer it. It's a program really targeted at helping folks own their systems and get connected with local lenders who are going to offer loan products with a lot of fixed and vetted requirements on behalf of the MassCEC. And we also provide a technical review of the projects and infrastructure in that way to help lenders feel more comfortable with these types of products. We've done over 5,400 loans to date, although I believe it might be a bit more now. And what this program also provides is additional loan support for income qualified customers. There's an interest rate buy down, income-based loan support, and a loan loss reserve. So this is a sort of an added value as a part of this program if you're income qualified. What the income-based loan support looks like is it's an incentive paid directly to the loan principal the month following completion. So this is a direct cash incentive paid to the bank. There's one qualifying income category for this. So that is category 1, below 80% of the state median income. So with that, you're eligible for a 30% principal reduction capped at $10,500. So again, you can see possibly a reduction of up to 30%, which is pretty great. There's also an interest rate buy down. The way this works is we're, again, a straight cash buy down available for category 1 customers. So again, it's that 80% below AMI. It's paid directly to the lender, so the interest rate stays low. So think about it this way, you get a 6% loan, we're gonna buy down 1.5%. That means you're gonna see a rate throughout the life of your loan of 4.5%, it won't change. So just another great feature of the program. And there's also a loan loss reserve, which I don't have a slide on, but that's really focused on helping those with lower credit scores gain loans and provide certainty to the banks. And that's also been very successful as well in helping a broader spectrum of folks get qualified. So I'm sure you're curious about how you qualify. We've got a listing here of the 80% of state median income. Again, that makes you eligible. So just take a look at some of these values and see, based on your household size, if this is something that you might fit into. We definitely find folks don't realize that they qualify, and they might actually. There's a really easy way to verify this. We have a portal that you can find at MassCECiverify.com. You create a login, fill out 3 screens to provide a little bit of information. We don't ask for tax returns. We don't get any of the financials. It goes directly to the IRS. They just send it back to us and say yes or no in terms of qualification. So it's really, really easy, really secure, and a great way to find out if you can take advantage of these additional and quite generous incentives. So, all right, where and how can I learn more? I did mention a few of these before, but I think first and foremost, the best thing to do is just stay tuned to learn from Boston Solar about the process and how these incentives work. They've also got all of this information, as does Esmeralda and the rest of the team. But again, Mass Solar Loan is masssolarloan.com. Smart Program is masmartsolar.com. The North Shore website has a comprehensive listing of all of these incentives. Find them at solarizenorthshore.org, or email your local solar coach. We've got their contact information as well. So you can find that here on this slide. Like I mentioned, we'll be sure to share it with you. But you can find Esmeralda at info@solarizenorthshore.org. And with that, I wanted to pass it along to our year's selected installer for solar PV, John Sacco from Boston Solar.
All right, thank you so much, Lisa.
Hey, thank you very much, Lisa. Thanks for giving everyone a nice overview of everything. For us, it's a very great honor to have been selected as the Solarize company for the North Shore. It is it's a very serious vetting process. So it's one of those things that's a feather in our cap, and also something that we take very seriously, and it's a wonderful opportunity for the local residents. The way I always like to describe a Solarize is it's basically like the town bought a Groupon solar. In this case, it's solar, air source heat pumps, and solar hot water all at once, where they went through all the effort of looking at every company in the state that was a viable contender for this, and threw out the companies that they found less desirable, threw out the proposals that weren't discounted enough for their residents, and then settled on in each category one provider to be the preferred installer for that community. And so they've already kind of done all the work for you. And for us, what's great is we get not only the vote of confidence and backing of the local community, but we also get a volunteer workforce that gets the word out and hosts events like this and just generates interest to try and help as many people as possible adopt these technologies. And so the Solarize, a very important thing, it ends the end of this month. So we want to try and help as many people as possible while we can, and while we can do it at the very steeply discounted pricing. It's in some cases 20 to 30% below market value, which if you were ever going to consider any of these things, great time to find out if it actually makes sense for you. As far as Boston Solar, the things that the folks in Salem, Swampscott, and Nahant liked about us, we're a very well respected installer. We've been in business since 2011, and in solar that's actually a long time. We started as a subcontractor. We used to do installs for other solar companies, and that was all we did for the first 3 years. By 2014, we were already the largest residential installer based in Massachusetts, and that's when we decided it might be better if we just cut out the middlemen, do this ourselves from start to finish. We tried it out, we liked it, and now that is all we do. Also with Boston Solar, very broad warranties. So from Boston Solar, you get 10 years parts and labor on absolutely everything, regardless of what the manufacturer does or doesn't cover. We also guarantee the production of our systems in the first 10 years. So if the system does not produce at least 90% of our estimate, we will write you a check for the difference. And then lastly, we also guarantee your roof for 10 years after install. Also, we've done over 4,000 installs. We've had 0 roof leaks. So please keep that in mind. I know sometimes that's something that people worry about. I'll go into exactly how we install it so that you're not worried about that. But also, we are 100% locally owned and operated. The owner lives right in Swampscott. Our office is in Woburn. We only operate in Massachusetts and Southern New Hampshire. And so if you ever call us, you're calling a 617 number. And that 4,000 installs we've done, that is more than any other Massachusetts-based company. And then what's great with solar too is just the nature of the technology. All the warranties from the manufacturers with the panels, the microinverters, it's all 25-year warranties. With some panels like LG, it's a 25-year warranty that includes parts and labor. But at the very minimum, you have parts warranties for 25 years with all equipment. And then, of course, it took us a long time to build the reputation we do have as a company. So we don't trust anyone else to do it as well as we would. So we never subcontract anything. Everything is done in-house by Boston Solar employees. And you can see here, if you have a chance, please check us out online. Your Solarize, folks, did their homework, but it's always good to see exactly what they liked. We're 4.9 out of 5 stars on basically every review site in existence. And company also has all the industry partnerships and accreditations you'd expect to see. Also very good about giving back to the community. So I'm sure, many of you might be familiar with Peter Frates. He was the inspiration for the Ice Bucket Challenge. It's a wonderful story. If you're not familiar, please look it up. But we donated the system, the Frates household. So they got a free solar system, and we've had a great partnership with Strikeout ALS and the Frates Foundation ever since then. But one of the things I always stress with the Solarize is we really want to engage the community and help out, and we want to donate as much money as possible. So we leverage our referral program where if someone books an appointment just to get a consultation with Boston Solar and they heard about us from a local community group or charity or church or temple or mosque, any organization in the community that wants to put the word out, we'll donate $25 if they just hear us out and take a look at the option. If they have a good roof for solar and decide to get a system, we also donate a further $100 to that same organization. So it's a wonderful thing. If anyone on here is involved in a community group or anything, it's a great way to fundraise with very little effort. And we handle everything for you. And it's one of those things, please reach out to me directly if that is something you want to establish more communication on, or want to get something you can send out, like a flyer or something like that. But definitely, try to take advantage of that. Unfortunately, we're a little short on time now, so it'd be, definitely act quickly and try to, help people, give them as much time to, make their decision as possible. In terms of how solar actually works on your roof, panels on the roof, light hits those panels, generates DC current or direct current electricity, and then we have microinverters, one for each panel, changing that DC over to AC, and that alternating current is what we use throughout the house. And so once the electricity is made into that alternating current electricity, we have a 1.5-inch metal conduit, bring that down from the roof. For the folks in the hunt or anywhere that's along the water, we might use PVC instead to combat the salt water. But once the electricity comes down from the roof and ties into your main electric service, powers everything in your house exactly the same way as electricity from the street does now. So your appliances and lights literally cannot tell the difference. When you are producing more than the house needs, all that excess electricity goes back onto the grid and it goes into your neighbor's houses, but on its way out the door, it literally spins your meter backwards. That's the net metering that Lisa was describing. And what's even better is before the electricity comes into your house, so before you even have a chance to use it, that production meter for the SMART program is tracking and reporting your production to the state before you can use any of it. So your usage will never affect your income. With that SMART income, we're in block 5 of that program right now. It's 5 out of 8. It's already more than halfway done. And the rate, it's just over 5 cents a kilowatt hour. We expect that to, we'll still be in block 5 for at least the next month, if not 2 months. And so you can lock in that rate for your 10 years, and that never changes. And once you're approved, you're locked in, and you just get paid every month based on whatever you produced the month before for the first 10 years. That is also an actual cash incentive. It's not like a credit on your bill or something more ethereal. It's a check or direct deposit. Also important to note, it is going to be considered taxable income, so don't forget that. And then Boston Solar does both commercial and residential solar. So if the incentives change, better be doing one or the other. We already do both, puts us in a great position that way. So because we have that background as a subcontractor, if we ever had to, we could go back to taking on subcontract work tomorrow. Right now, we're in the very fortunate position where we're busy enough just working for ourselves. Now, in terms of how we actually attach to your roof, you can see here the structure. We actually attach right to the rafters inside your attic. And so the racking system you see there, it's black anodized aluminum, looks a little nicer than the chrome stuff you might see a lot of. And each one of these points is anchored right to a rafter. And this whole flashing kit, that's all for a hole. It's only 1/4 of an inch. So what we do is we flash up under the shingle above, drill a pilot hole right into the rafter, fill that with silicone, and then sink a lag screw into that. That way it's completely watertight, but it's also attached right to the structure of the house. So the only way for the panels to go anywhere is if the whole roof came off, structure and all. Panels can take 120-mile-an-hour winds when attaching this way. Now, kind of optional items, we can put up snow guards. It's Massachusetts, we're going to get snow. The panels will be covered in snow, and then they will shed the snow themselves, especially if you have a steep pitch. So the snow can come flying off with some gusto. If it was a safety issue, we would recommend snow guards. Keeps the snow from sliding off, so it doesn't land on you. The only downside is it keeps the snow from sliding off too. The other kind of preventive measure might be critter guard. If you have a roof that squirrels can get on, we recommend this strongly. If they can get under the array, they'll chew through all the wires. There's some kind of soy-based compound in the insulation of the wires, and apparently it is delicious. But squirrels can't get on your roof. There's just no way for them to get on. You actually don't need this. Now, the equipment that goes on the side of your house, you have your existing meter. You also have, this is the PV load center. That's where all the different feeds from the microinverters combine into one. It's kind of a communication hub for the system. This can go inside or outside, depending upon, your home's actual setup. Sometimes it can't go inside because it's a finished space or something like that. This is the socket for the smart meter, and this is a disconnect switch that's there for the local utility or the fire department in case they need to shut your system off from the outside. And this is what a microinverter looks like. It's actually under the panels attached to the rails. So you'll never see them, but that's what is doing the work up on the roof, converting that DC to AC. But getting more into the good stuff, the incentives for solar, you have the federal tax credit, which this year it's 26%. It was 30% last year. Next year it goes to 22%, and then it goes to 0. For commercial solar, there is a 1 year 10%, but for residential, it's this year, next year, and then all done. Now with the tax credit, it applies to your taxes before they touch any of your withholding. So if you normally get a refund, you get a great big refund. If you were going to normally write a check to the IRS, you either write a smaller check or you write no check at all and you get a refund for a change. Literally the only requirement is as long as you're paying taxes, you can use it. And great thing is, even if you're not paying taxes, if your income qualifies you for that mass solar loan buy down, the state will pay for 30% of the system. So there's lots of ways to have the system pay for itself, and we're happy to walk you through what your different options are, what you qualify for. There's also a $1,000 state tax credit, and then you get the smart income for 10 years. And so what we want to see when you kind of combine all these together is you have the tax credits and potentially the buy down taking care of anywhere from 26 to 56% of the system for you, plus the $1,000 state tax credit. And then you have the ongoing incentives, the net metering or free electricity, and the smart income. As long as the income you're getting paid from smart and the money that you're not giving to National Grid anymore because you're making that electricity on your own roof for free, as long as those two together are more than what you pay for the system, it literally pays for itself while you pocket the difference. And we have ways where folks can go solar where there's no upfront cost at all, so I'll get into that in a moment. But to drill down a little bit more into the net metering, when Lisa was talking about the getting a credit and then having that credit on your bill, this is what it looks like when you actually build the credit. So I have Canton, but if you look in the lower right, you can see my bill goes negative. I overproduce by 261 kilowatt hours, and the utility company credits my bill, and then they still want their $7. They'll take that customer charge, but they'll take it out of what they owe you. I didn't have to send them $7. So my bill, you see that upper right-hand corner where it says no payment due? That's what my bill looks like year-round and has for more than 2 years now. I have not paid 1 penny for electricity, and I have a family of 5. I also have my nephews and sister-in-law with us during the quarantine. So we got a family of 8, and we haven't paid for electricity in 2 years. And you build up those negative credits spring, summer, and fall, and the idea is to have that there to get yourself through winter. And so when you do start in winter, you can see more recent bill here, and what it's showing you is I already had a negative credit, and starting in October, I started eating into that credit. But when I did, I had so much money left over, I actually made it all the way through winter, eating through my credits, and came through the other side without paying a single penny to the utility. And we can design a system where it does that for you year after year. If your usage is really high or roof really small, maybe we're talking about just a portion of the bill. But if you can get rid of a portion of that bill and replace it with a bill that's smaller, great. If you can replace it with a bill that's smaller and goes away, even better. And that's exactly how it ends up working in terms of the financing options. So you can pay for it up front, the whole thing, and then it just pays for itself over time. Or you can have no upfront investment, no down payment, no deposit, take out a loan for the system, and then pay for it monthly the same way you do your electric bill, except pay less than what you already are. So it's basically a choice of 2 electric bills. The one you have now that goes up every year and would go on forever, or a bill that's already lower, stays lower and never goes up, and then ends at worst in 10 years. And the pricing mentioned, one of the great things with Solarize is, the 3 towns already beat us over a stick to get the best price out of us they possibly could. So you don't have to worry about, haggling or any of that kind of drama. It's great for us because we know we're coming in with an unbelievable price. And so it makes my job dramatically easy. But with the panels that you get, very high quality panels, and you're getting them with the best installer in the state at a fraction of what it would normally cost. And what's great about that is all the incentives and benefits are the same, but the cost is lower. So if anyone was ever going to have an opportunity to go solar and have it make sense financially, it really doesn't get much better than right now. Because the incentives at the highest they're going to be next year, the tax credit goes down. In 3 months, the smart income goes down a little bit, but it's still, it'll still be there, albeit reduced. Right now, you can get the highest you'll ever see it, the tax credit the highest it'll be, and you get the system at the lowest cost you'll ever get. So if anyone is interested, please feel free. That's my cell phone there. You can call me, you can email me. You can also call the office at that number right there. Or you can email inside sales at bostonsolar.us. And if you do that, you can just provide, your name, address, and preferred contact method, whether it be email or phone. We'll look up your house on satellite, see if it's a viable candidate. If it is, we'll book a consultation with you, no cost or obligation, and be able to tell you what your roof's capable of. See if you can save yourself some money. And what's nice with the whole Solarize Plus program, and combine all these things where you could get rid of your hot water bill, you could get rid of your electric bill, you can add air source heat pumps, especially if you have oil, save a lot of money getting rid of your oil bill. So lots of opportunities. We're more than happy to walk you through all your different options and what might make sense for you. I'll turn that back over to Esmeralda, but please feel free to reach out to me directly if anyone has any questions.
Great, thank you so much, John. That was awesome. So everyone who's attending, we're now going to have a Q&A session. So if you want, you can raise your hand so you can speak and ask a question. Or there's a Q&A box on the bottom. You can type a question. I don't see any questions right now. So does anyone have a question? Wait a couple seconds. Oh, we got one question. Does Boston Solar install batteries to store solar?
Yes, we do. And there's also incentives for batteries. So one of the great things is through MassCEC, there's an incentive called Connected Solutions, where you get income for the first 5 years. Program is basically a pilot to have decentralized storage throughout the grid and test the ability for the grid operator to be able to discharge those batteries during peak usage hours, so they can actually benefit from all that solar that's generated at noontime that no one really needs. If we can time shift it and send it out into the grid during peak usage, far more beneficial for the grid. And for your trouble, they pay you for doing that. So like per power wall, we do Tesla power walls, Sonnen batteries, a few different options. But you get about $3,300 worth of income over the next 5 years. The battery is also eligible for the federal tax credit as long as you do have solar as well. So if you already have solar, you can add a battery. If you're getting solar and battery together, they're both eligible for that same 26% federal tax credit. And part of that Connected Solutions program allows you to finance batteries using the Mass Heat Loan. So the Mass Heat Loan is 0% for 7 years. You can only use it twice up to $25,000. So if you already used it up, I'm afraid it's not an option. But if you haven't used it before, 0% for 7 years, you can finance the batteries and as well spread out the cost there. And then you get an adder for the smart program. So I mentioned you get about 5 cents a kilowatt hour, for Smart Block 5. If you have a battery adder, it almost doubles the rate. You get over 10 cents a kilowatt hour for your smart income for the full 10 years. And so, especially on larger systems with high production, the batteries almost completely pay for themselves over the, with the full benefit of the 10 years of incentives. But if you're looking for a whole home backup, compared to like an automatic transfer switch generator, it's actually a very economical option, where even on small systems, the net cost of the battery usually ends up being, $2,000 or $3,000 after all the incentives come in.
All right, we got 2 more questions. What is an estimate cost to install the system of a house of 2 people? Does Boston Solar install solar panels that are not on the roof?
Yeah, so typical cost, especially in a Solarize, I mean, it obviously varies depending on the size of the system. It's a fixed pricing structure. So the smaller systems will be very inexpensive. The larger systems, it's very hard unless you have a huge system to get above like $40,000 in the Solarize. But typical pricing will be probably somewhere 20 to 30,000, depending on how big or small the system is. How big or small we make the system actually depends on your usage and your house. So if you get more sun than someone else, you need fewer panels to hit the same electricity target. Now, what's nice is, we can make the system bigger or smaller depending on your needs, and it's going to be customized based on your usage. So, if someone uses very little electricity, we can wipe out your whole bill with a very small system. If you have a huge bill, it'll be a bigger system that costs more, but you're also already spending $3,000 or $4,000 a year on electricity, so it's still going to be dramatically cheaper than what you're doing now.
Right, we have someone raising their hand. Liz Bratt. All right, go ahead, Liz.
I have to say, it was really fun to see the picture of my practice on one of your slides.
The veterinary office.
Yeah, and then I've had on my home, I've had solar, and we've been getting the renewable energy credits for 8 years. So if I added a battery and a heating system, would I just get 2 more years of SRECs, or would it start again to get another 10 years starting now, or would I just finish out the two of the 10 years that are left from my existing system?
Yeah, so unfortunately, the SREC program does not have any tie-ins to any of the battery incentives. So it does tie in with SMART, but no tie-in with SREC. You'll finish out your normal 10 years of SREC, but then that'll be the end of that. You do get the Connected Solutions incentive. You get the tax credit. You would not get that SMART adder because you're not in the SMART program. Silver lining, the SREC program was actually even more generous than SMART. So I'm sure you're doing very, very well with that.
Yeah. I'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thank
Very
you, Liz.
welcome.
All right, we have another question. What is the size of a system for a typical family of 4?
Yeah, so with it does vary tremendously. If you're a family of 4 with electric heat, you might use 20,000 kilowatt hours a year, and we'll do everything we can to wipe out your whole bill, but it might not be possible. But electric or gas heat, normal size house, family of 4, you might only use 6 or 10,000 kilowatt hours a year. A good kind of baseline to tie it in. If you look at your bill on the second page, it has your annual usage, and we would tally this up for you. If your usage is 6,000 kilowatt hours a year, you can probably wipe that out as long as you have a decent site with a 6 kW system. If your usage is 10,000 kilowatt hours a year, you might need a 10 kW, or if you have really good sun, you might be able to wipe that out with a 7 or 8 kW system. So unfortunately, we don't have a cookie cutter answer for that, but if you're, schedule a consultation, we'll do a custom design specific to your house. We build out a 3D model of your house, 3D model of all the trees in your area, and that way we can tell you not only how many panels can fit on your roof, but how much sun you get, and then we customize that design, hopefully to wipe out your whole bill, if it's possible, and if not, just to take as big a bite out of it as we can.
All right. Thank you so much, John, and thank you, Lisa. Do you have
One
anything
more
else
question
to add? Okay.
there. There was like a 2-part on the second one that was asking if Boston Solar does installs not on roofs.
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Lisa. I saw that and then I forgot about it. Yes, we do ground mount installs. So if someone has, especially, you have to have a pretty big yard because the ground mount, it's closer to the ground than your roof is. So it's more vulnerable to shade if there is any. But yeah, we absolutely do ground mounts. We'll trench out, we'll build the array and put it on there. So it's a great option if you have a roof that can't do it, but you got a great big field next to you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you both for coming on and talking about Boston Solar and the incentives and everything. And thanks everyone for attending. I will be posting the recording of this webinar on our website, our Facebook page, and emailing it to everyone that registered. If you have any additional questions or comments, you can email them to us at info@solarizenorthshore.org. And if you're ready to learn if solar PV is right for your home, you can sign up for a free virtual or in-person assessment on our website at solarizenorthshore.org, or that email and website that John gave us on his presentation. All right. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much, everyone. Take care.
Bye.